He wielded her clan's sword to protect her, oblivious he now had to become her husband. The human ship crashed with a loud roar. Flames lit the dark sky of the alien world, and smoke spread across the valley. Ethan Cole, a human engineer and former soldier, was thrown from the control chair. The cabin shook and sparks flew everywhere. He grabbed onto a metal bar to steady himself, but the force of the impact threw him into the floor. His head hit a corner. For a few seconds the world went black. When he opened his eyes, he saw smoke, fire, and broken metal. The ship was broken and the ground outside looked strange. The sky was orange and purple and two suns hung in the distance. Strange birds or creatures that looked like birds circled the area. Ethan groaned. His body ached. His left arm hurt badly and his right leg felt numb. He tried to stand but stumbled. He knew he had to move. There was no guarantee anyone would find him. He checked his backpack. Most of it was crushed, but his basic survival kit survived. A small knife, some rations, and a water container were intact. He strapped the bag to his back and stepped outside. The air was thin and sharp. Every breath burned in his lungs. He looked around. The land was strange. Huge rocks stood like towers. Plants glowed slightly in the dim light. He had never seen anything like this before. Suddenly, he heard voices. They were not human. They sounded harsh, like a mix of growls and words. The ground shook as they approached. Ethan ducked behind a rock. 3 figures appeared. They were tall, with gray-green skin. Their eyes were large and glowing yellow. They carried long spears. Their clothes looked like a mix of metal and leather. They spoke quickly in their language, pointing toward him. Ethan stayed hidden. He knew he could not fight 3 of them at once. He considered running, but they were too fast. They would catch him easily. Suddenly, one of the creatures stopped and looked directly at him. Its eyes widened. It seemed to speak faster, louder. The other 2 looked nervous. Ethan wondered why. Then he noticed movement behind the creatures. A small figure was trying to escape. A child, maybe 6 or 7 years old. Without thinking, Ethan ran. He jumped out from behind the rock, shouting at the creatures. "Hey, leave the child alone!" He grabbed the small figure and pulled it behind him. The creatures hissed and moved forward. Ethan ran as fast as he could, dodging sharp rocks. He knew he was slower than them, but he had one advantage. They were not expecting his sudden attack. He jumped into a small ravine. The creatures followed but hesitated at the edge. Ethan looked at the child. It was trembling, its eyes wide with fear. "Don't worry," he said. "I've got you." The child did not respond, only stared. Ethan realized he had no choice. He would have to keep moving or they would both die. They ran for what felt like hours. The sun was setting, painting the sky in dark red and purple. Ethan's legs ached, but he kept running. Finally, they reached a small cave. He hid inside and looked outside. The creatures were gone. He let the child sit. "Are you okay?" he asked. The child shook its head but did not speak. Ethan sighed. He had no idea what language it spoke. The cave was cold and damp. Ethan sat down, trying to rest. He looked at the child. It had strange markings on its skin, like tattoos or scars. Its eyes were very bright, almost glowing. Ethan realized it might not even be fully human, but something alien. He had to be careful. He did not know what rules or dangers this world had. The next day, they left the cave. Ethan knew they could not stay in one place. He needed help, or at least food and water. They walked across strange fields where plants moved slightly, almost like they were alive. The child followed silently, watching everything with big eyes. After hours of walking, they reached a small settlement. Buildings were round and low, made of a smooth stone he had never seen. People moved in and out, talking in a language he could not understand. They carried weapons, mostly spears and short swords. Ethan tried to look calm. He raised his hands to show he was not dangerous. The settlement froze as he approached. Guards stopped and watched him closely. A woman came forward. She was taller than most of the others, with long dark hair and piercing eyes. She wore armor that covered most of her body. She looked at Ethan and the child. Then she spoke in their language. The guards relaxed slightly. The child stepped forward and the woman's face softened. Ethan did not understand the words, but he noticed the woman smiling faintly at the child. The child ran to her and hid behind her legs. The woman looked at Ethan and spoke again, slower this time, pointing to him. Ethan shook his head. "I don't speak your language," he said. The woman raised an eyebrow. She motioned for the guards to take him inside. Inside the building, Ethan was surrounded by curious eyes. He saw paintings and symbols on the walls. They looked like stories of battles, warriors, and strange creatures. He tried to explain where he came from using gestures. It did not work. The woman, Lena, as he learned, kept watching him closely. She seemed to understand more than the others. Over the next few days, Ethan learned a little. He could eat their food and drink their water. He could sleep in a small room with mats. The child stayed with him. Ethan named it Kira in his mind, though he did not know if that was her real name. He realized that the child trusted him. Every day, Kira would smile a little more, and Ethan would feel a small warmth he had not felt in a long time. Lena came to visit him every day. She did not smile much, but she watched how he moved, how he treated Kira, and how he reacted to danger. Ethan noticed that the people in the settlement respected Lena a lot. They listened to her words and followed her gestures. She seemed important, maybe the daughter of a leader. One evening, a loud alarm rang through the settlement. Ethan jumped. Lena ran to the center of the building, calling orders. Guards picked up weapons and ran outside. Ethan looked at Kira, who clung to his arm. Lena noticed Ethan standing there, confused. She waved him to follow. Outside, Ethan saw a group of warriors approaching. They were from another clan, larger and heavily armed. Lena's people shouted, readying for battle. Ethan understood. They were going to fight. He wanted to help, but he did not know their rules or how to fight properly. Suddenly, one of the enemy warriors ran toward Kira. Ethan did not think. He ran, grabbed a stick, and threw it. The warrior stumbled, giving Kira a chance to run. Lena shouted something, and guards moved to protect her. Ethan realized that even without knowing the rules, he could help. He moved closer to the fight, dodging weapons, throwing stones, and trying to protect the child and Lena. The enemy was strong. Ethan was lucky to survive the first attack. He saw that the warriors respected strength. They hesitated when someone fought bravely. Ethan's human instincts, his speed, and his courage impressed Lena. She watched as Ethan risked his life again and again, never retreating, never giving up. By the time the sun set, the enemy retreated. Lena's people cheered, though many were wounded. Ethan was exhausted, bleeding, and bruised. Lena came to him, studying him closely. "You saved her," she said, pointing at Kira. Ethan nodded, panting. "I had to," he said. "She's just a child." Lena looked at him in a new way. Ethan did not understand, but he noticed that the elders of the settlement were also watching him. They were silent, whispering among themselves. Ethan wondered what this meant. Was he going to be punished? Or was this respect? That night, Ethan could not sleep. Kira slept quietly beside him, and he thought about everything that had happened. He was a human on an alien world, surrounded by people he did not understand. He had saved a child, defended a woman, and survived a battle. Yet he had no idea what the future held. For the first time in a long while, Ethan felt hope. He had a purpose here, even if he did not fully understand it. He was not just a survivor anymore. He was a protector, and on this strange world, protection could mean much more than life itself. The next morning, Lena approached him again. She carried a small, curved sword. Ethan stared. It looked ceremonial, ancient. Lena handed it to him, and he noticed the markings on the blade. They were like the symbols he had seen in the building, stories of warriors and honor. "You must learn," Lena said in broken words. "Protect her." She pointed at Kira. Ethan nodded. He did not know the full meaning, but he understood the danger, and he understood his duty. He would fight, he would survive, he would protect. And for the first time, Ethan realized that this alien world was about to change his life forever. The morning sun rose over the alien valley, casting long shadows on the glowing plants. Ethan Cole stood outside the small building, holding the curved sword Lena had given him. The metal was heavy, but he felt a strange connection to it. The markings on the blade seemed to hum under his touch. He had never seen anything like it. Kira watched him closely, her small hands gripping the edge of the building. She did not speak, but her wide eyes followed every move Ethan made. He had promised to protect her, and he would keep that promise no matter what. Lena appeared at the entrance of the building. Her dark hair shone in the sunlight. She carried a short spear and moved with grace and speed. "We train," she said. "You fight." Her voice was firm but not unkind. Ethan nodded. He did not know much about fighting with a sword like this, but he could learn. He had survived worse. The training yard was a small open space surrounded by the settlement's walls. Several warriors stood watching. Some whispered to each other. Ethan noticed their eyes were cautious but respectful. They did not know him, but they could see he was willing to learn. Lena demonstrated a move, swinging her spear in a wide circle. Ethan watched and tried to mimic it with the sword. His first swings were awkward. The blade was heavier than he expected, and he struggled to balance. Lena frowned slightly. "No," she said. "More flow." She moved closer and showed him again, slower this time. Ethan copied her movements, feeling the weight of the sword, the rhythm of the swings. Hours passed. Ethan's arms ached and sweat dripped from his face. Kira cheered quietly whenever he hit the target dummy, and that small encouragement gave him energy to continue. By the end of the day, he was exhausted but improving. Lena nodded once. "Better," she said. Ethan smiled. He was not fast, but he could fight. That night, Ethan sat outside his room, cleaning the sword. Kira lay beside him, looking up at the two suns that had set, leaving a sky full of strange stars. Ethan's mind raced. He thought about the enemy clan that had attacked the settlement before. They would come again. He could feel it. The other warriors were strong and their weapons were deadly. The next morning, the settlement alarm rang. Ethan jumped up, grabbing the sword. He ran outside. Lena was already there, shouting orders. The villagers grabbed their weapons and lined the walls. From the distance, Ethan saw movement. Shadows crossed the valley. The rival clan had returned, and this time they were larger. The enemy warriors were tall and heavily armored. They carried long spears, curved swords, and shields. They shouted in their harsh language. Ethan did not understand the words, but the tone was clear. They wanted war. Lena ran toward him. "Protect Kira," she shouted. Ethan nodded. He positioned himself near the child, holding the sword tightly. The first wave of attackers rushed forward. Ethan's heart pounded. He remembered his training and swung the sword. It cut through the air with a sharp hiss. One enemy came too close. Ethan blocked the spear with the flat side of the blade. The impact shook his arms, but he held steady. The warrior lunged again, and Ethan pushed him back with all his strength. The other warriors noticed him. They were surprised to see a human fighting so fiercely. Ethan did not care about being surprised. He only cared about protecting Kira. He moved quickly, blocking and striking, dodging and pushing. His human instincts guided him. He was faster than many of them, and he fought with determination. Lena watched from the side. She saw Ethan's courage and skill. Even though he was not trained in their full fighting style, his natural talent and quick thinking made him dangerous. She realized that this human, this outsider, could change the outcome of the battle. The enemy pressed harder. Ethan ducked under a swinging spear and rolled to the side. Another warrior attacked from behind. Ethan turned quickly, catching the spear with the sword. He used the momentum to throw the enemy backward. Dust rose around them. Kira's eyes were wide, but she did not cry. She trusted him. That trust gave Ethan strength. The battle continued for hours. Ethan's arms ached, his legs burned, but he did not stop. Every time an enemy got close to Kira, he was there, blocking, pushing, fighting. Lena joined him in the middle of the yard. Together they moved as a team. She swung her spear with skill, and Ethan struck with precision. The enemy faltered. Some of the warriors tried to attack Lena, but Ethan was faster. He blocked and parried, always keeping Kira safe. The villagers watched in awe. A human, untrained in their clan rules, was holding his ground against the enemy. His courage inspired them. They fought harder, defending their homes and their people. The sun was high when the enemy leader appeared. He was larger than the others, wearing black armor with red markings. He carried a massive sword. The ground shook with every step he took. He laughed, a deep, harsh sound. Ethan felt fear for a moment. He had never seen a warrior like this, but he pushed it away. Fear would not protect Kira. The enemy leader charged. Ethan raised the sword and met him in the middle. Their blades clashed, metal ringing against metal. Ethan stumbled but did not fall. The leader struck again, hard. Ethan blocked with all his strength. Sparks flew. He realized the human strength combined with the alien blade made him dangerous. Lena saw the struggle and moved closer, striking the enemies around the leader. She gave Ethan space. He focused. He noticed the rhythm of the leader's attacks. Each swing had a pattern. He waited, then struck at the right moment, pushing the leader back. The enemy grunted, surprised by the human strength. The villagers joined in. They fought with renewed energy. The enemy's formation broke. Warriors fell, tripped, or retreated. Ethan kept Kira safe, moving her behind him whenever danger came too close. The leader roared and charged again, but Ethan, using speed and strategy, knocked the weapon aside and pushed him back. After what felt like an eternity, the enemy clan retreated. They ran across the valley, leaving their wounded behind. Lena's people cheered. Ethan dropped the sword, breathing heavily. He was bruised, bleeding, and exhausted, but alive. Kira ran to him, hugging his legs. "You okay?" he said. She nodded, smiling weakly. Lena approached him. Her dark eyes were serious. She looked at the sword in his hands. The villagers whispered among themselves. The elders came forward, their faces unreadable. One elder spoke slowly. Ethan did not understand the words, but he noticed the tone was different. Respect perhaps all. Lena finally spoke in broken English. "You wield clan sword, save Kira, save people important," she said. Ethan frowned. I just fought to protect her. I did not mean anything else." Lena's eyes narrowed slightly. "In our law, wield sword, protector, bond, strong." Ethan did not understand. He shook his head. "Bond, protector, I am just human. I fight, that is all." The elder stepped forward. He gestured toward the sword and then toward Lena. His tone was serious, final. Ethan felt a chill. Something about the way he spoke made it clear this was no ordinary law. This was sacred. Ethan's actions had triggered something ancient, something bigger than himself. Kira tugged at his hand. Ethan knelt beside her. "It's okay," he whispered. "I don't know what it means, but I'll protect you." Lena watched them, her face softening slightly. She stepped back and gestured for Ethan to follow. The elders were talking quietly, pointing at him and the sword. Ethan could feel their eyes on him, heavy with expectation. That night, Ethan sat in his room, cleaning the sword again. Kira slept nearby, exhausted from the day's chaos. Ethan thought about what Lena had said. Protector, bond, sacred law. He had no idea what it meant, but he realized that his actions had changed something. He was no longer just a human outsider. He had become part of something larger. He remembered the enemy leader's eyes, full of hatred and disbelief. He remembered the villagers, looking at him with a mixture of fear and respect. And he remembered Kira, trusting him completely. He had never felt such responsibility before. Ethan did not sleep well that night. The sword lay beside him, heavy and glowing faintly in the dim light. He thought about the battles to come, about the rival clan, and about the strange laws of this world. He knew one thing for certain: he could not run. He could not leave Kira or Lena. He would stay, fight, and protect, no matter what the cost. The next morning, Lena came again, bringing a training dummy and more instructions. Ethan lifted the sword and followed her movements, slowly learning the ways of the clan. He knew the enemy would return, stronger and more determined. He also knew that to survive, he had to become more than a fighter. He had to become a protector in the truest sense. And so, under the twin suns of the alien world, Ethan trained. Each swing of the sword, each dodge, each strike brought him closer to understanding his role. He was a human, yes, but his courage, his heart, and his determination were now part of the clan. For the first time, Ethan felt that perhaps humans could not only survive on this alien world but could shape its destiny. And the first step was clear: protect Kira, defend the clan, and wield the sword that had chosen him. The enemy would return. That was certain. And when they did, Ethan Cole would be ready. The day after the battle, the settlement was quiet. The villagers moved slowly, tending to the wounded and repairing broken walls. Ethan Cole sat outside, holding the curved clan sword. The weight of the weapon felt heavier now, not because of its metal, but because of what he had done. He had defended the child, fought off the rival clan, and survived a battle no human had ever faced on this world. Kira ran to him, holding a small wooden toy she had found in the ruins of a building. She smiled, and for a moment the war and danger seemed far away. Ethan smiled back, ruffling her hair. She trusted him completely, and he felt a deep sense of responsibility. Lena appeared then, her dark hair tied back, her eyes serious. She walked up to Ethan and gestured for him to follow. He nodded and got up, feeling the soreness in his arms and legs. Together, they entered the central hall of the settlement. The elders were waiting. Their faces were solemn. They were tall, serious, and silent. Ethan had never seen humans like this. Their presence made the room feel heavy with history. One elder stepped forward. He held a long staff with carvings that looked very old. He pointed at the sword in Ethan's hands and then at Lena. His tone was calm but firm. Ethan did not understand the words, but the feeling was clear. This was not a simple conversation. Something important was about to happen. Lena spoke slowly to Ethan in broken English. "Clan law, you wield sword, protector, bond must be known." Ethan frowned. "Bond? I don't understand. I just fought to save Kira, that's all. I didn't mean anything else." Lena shook her head slightly. "No, it is deeper. Our law, sword chooses protector, protector becomes husband." Ethan froze. He stared at her. "Husband? What do you mean? I'm not married to anyone. I'm human. I don't know your rules." Lena did not answer. Instead, she looked at the elders. They nodded slowly. Ethan realized then that this was not a suggestion or a choice. It was law, ancient law, something that humans did not have, did not understand, and yet it was binding. The elder raised his staff higher. He spoke in a low, rhythmic voice. The words were alien, but the tone was commanding. The other elders repeated it softly, creating a chant that seemed to fill the hall. Ethan could feel the power in the words. It was as if the law itself was alive, watching him, judging him. Lena stepped closer. She placed her hand on Ethan's arm. Her touch was firm but not aggressive. "Protect, not only fight, protect life, law you cannot refuse." Ethan swallowed hard. He could not refuse, not because he wanted to obey, but because the law was clear and he could feel its weight. Kira ran to Lena and clung to her side. Ethan looked at the child. She had no idea of the rules or the traditions. She only knew that he had saved her life. Ethan felt a strange mix of pride and fear. Protecting the child was one thing. Being bound to the daughter of the clan was something else entirely. The elders gestured for Lena to speak. She stepped forward. "You human, strong, brave, sword chose protector, bond now." Her voice was steady. Ethan shook his head. "I don't understand. I didn't choose this. I only fight to protect her, not to be married." One elder raised a hand. He pointed at Ethan and then at Lena. Law is not broken by thought, only action. You wield sword, you protect life, bond is made. Refusal is not choice, only dishonor. Ethan's stomach tightened. He realized then that no matter what he thought or wanted, the law had already decided for him. His actions had triggered it. For hours, the elders explained the law to him in gestures, symbols, and broken English. Ethan listened carefully. The clan sword was not just a weapon. It was a symbol of protection, loyalty, and blood. Whoever wielded it in defense of the clan heir was now bound to her life and future. The bond required him to stay, to protect, and ultimately to become her husband. Ethan's mind raced. He thought about returning to his ship, leaving the planet, escaping the rules. But he knew it was impossible. Even if he ran, the bond would follow. The law of the clan was older than anything he had known. It was stronger than fear, stronger than desire, stronger than escape. Lena watched him carefully. She did not smile, but her eyes softened. You protect life, not only child, now law bond must honor. Ethan looked at her. He wanted to argue, to refuse, to explain that he was human and had no intention of marrying anyone, but he could not. The weight of the sword in his hands reminded him that this was not a choice. Kira climbed onto his lap. Ethan held her, feeling the warmth of her small body. Protecting her had started this chain of events, and now it had grown into something far larger. He realized then that the bond was not just about law or duty. It was about life, honor, and protection. He could not abandon it. The elders performed a simple ceremony. Lena stood beside him, silent but steady. Ethan held the sword with both hands, understanding that it was more than metal. It was a promise, a responsibility. The elders chanted, marking the moment when human and alien law met. Ethan felt the energy in the air, the weight of centuries pressing down on him. When the ceremony ended, the elders stepped back. Lena looked at him. Now, protector, husband, must learn ways of clan fight, survive, defend. Ethan nodded slowly. He was still shocked, still uncertain, but he understood the responsibility. He could not leave. He would stay, fight, and protect. The following days were filled with training. Lena taught him more about the sword, the rules, and the movements of the clan warriors. Ethan practiced relentlessly, learning to combine human instincts with alien technique. Kira stayed close, watching him, occasionally offering encouragement. Ethan began to feel a bond not just with the law, but with the child and with Lena herself. One evening, Lena brought him to the top of a hill overlooking the settlement. The twin suns were setting, painting the sky in red and gold. You learn fast, she said quietly. Ethan wiped sweat from his brow. I have to, I can't fail, Lena nodded. Not only sword, heart, mind must fight together. Ethan looked at her, understanding more than she expected. The law had bound him, yes, but his own choices, courage, and loyalty were what would define him. That night, Ethan sat outside, cleaning the sword. Kira slept nearby. He thought about the future. The rival clan would return stronger and angrier, but he was no longer alone. He had Lena, Kira, and the villagers who now trusted him. He also had something humans often underestimated: courage. Even on this alien world, surrounded by strange laws and traditions, humanity's strength was not in machines or numbers, but in the heart. Days turned into weeks. Ethan trained, fought, and learned. He became faster, stronger, more aware of the threats around him. The bond with Lena was still new, still uncertain, but it grew with every day they spent together. He began to respect her, not just for her skill, but for her wisdom, her patience, and her courage. The rival clan watched from afar, planning their next attack. They did not understand the human or the bond he shared with the Talvith clan. They underestimated him, and that would be their mistake. Ethan realized something important. The law had forced the bond, but it was his own actions, his own choices, that made him worthy. Protecting Lena and Kira was no longer just duty, it was purpose. It was honor. It was humanity proving that even on an alien world, a single human could change the course of history. One morning, Lena approached him with a serious expression. "Enemy, coming soon," she said. Ethan nodded. He felt ready, not just with the sword but with strategy, strength, and heart. The next battle would not just test his skill, it would test his courage, his loyalty, and the bond that now tied him to Lena and her clan. That night he could not sleep. He held the sword in his hands, feeling the carvings, the weight, and the power. The law had chosen him, the clan had accepted him, and now he was ready to face whatever came next. No matter the enemy, no matter the danger, he would protect them all. For the first time, Ethan understood the meaning of being more than human. It was not just about survival, it was about courage, honor, and loyalty. And on this alien world, he would prove that humanity could rise above fear, tradition, and even law to stand as a true protector. The morning air was cool, filled with the scent of strange, glowing plants. Ethan Cole stretched and adjusted the curved sword on his back. The weight had become familiar now. Every movement, every swing, every step made him stronger and more confident. He had learned much from Lena and the clan, but he knew the real test was coming. The rival clan would return, larger and more determined than ever. Kira ran to him, holding a small bundle of food. "Eat," she said, pointing at the bread and dried meat. Ethan smiled. "Thanks, little one." He ate quickly. The child's presence reminded him why he could not fail. Protecting her was the reason he trained, the reason he fought, and soon, the reason he would lead the defense of the settlement. Lena appeared then, carrying her spear. She moved with quiet authority. "Today, training, fight together, not only you," she said. Ethan nodded. The bond between them was growing. They did not speak much, but their understanding was clear. He would fight beside her and she would fight beside him. The training yard was alive with activity. Villagers and warriors moved in patterns, swinging swords, raising shields, and shouting commands. Ethan joined them, feeling the rhythm of their movements. He had learned to combine his human instincts with alien techniques. He could anticipate attacks, strike quickly, and move with surprising speed. Lena demonstrated a complex maneuver, spinning her spear and striking a target dummy. Ethan copied her movements, swinging the sword in precise arcs. Sweat ran down his face, but he did not stop. He knew that the rival clan would not wait. Every second of training brought him closer to survival. Hours passed. Ethan practiced with other warriors, blocking attacks, countering strikes, and moving in formation. Lena corrected his stance, showing him the balance of offense and defense. He was tired, sore, and bleeding slightly, but he continued. Every strike was a step toward mastery. During a break, Lena spoke quietly. "You strong, not only human, heart, mind, sword, life, protect all." Ethan nodded. He understood the meaning now. Strength was not just muscle, it was courage, loyalty, and the willingness to risk everything for others. The bond with Lena and Kira was no longer just law, it was purpose. That evening, the elders called a meeting. Ethan and Lena entered the central hall. Maps of the valley were spread on a stone table. Symbols marked the enemy's likely paths. The elders discussed strategy, but Ethan noticed their reliance on tradition. They were skilled warriors, yes, but their tactics were old. He spoke cautiously, suggesting traps, ambushes, and formations that combined human strategy with alien fighting techniques. The elders whispered among themselves. Lena glanced at him, surprised. "Explain," she said softly. Ethan pointed at the map. "We can use the terrain, the rocks, the narrow paths, the ridges. We can funnel them into choke points. We can use traps to slow them down. We can use arrows and spears to weaken them before close combat." The elders studied him closely. One nodded slowly. "Human mind, clever, yes, try." Ethan felt a small surge of pride. Even on this alien world, humans had a place. He was not just a fighter, he was a strategist. The combination of his courage and human ingenuity could change the outcome of the war. The next morning, the settlement prepared for battle. Villagers reinforced walls, dug small traps, and moved supplies. Ethan walked among them, offering guidance, encouragement, and reassurance. He noticed the fear in some eyes, but also determination. They had seen him fight. They knew he would not fail. Lena joined him. "Enemy coming soon," she said. Ethan nodded. "We are ready." He adjusted his sword. The carvings on the blade seemed to glow faintly in the early sun. He felt the weight not just on his arm, but on his heart. Every swing, every movement, every decision mattered. From the ridge, Ethan saw the enemy approaching. This time they were larger, stronger, and more organized. Their armor gleamed in the sun. Spears and swords glinted as they moved in formation. The rival clan shouted, their voices echoing across the valley. They had come for blood, for revenge, and for the destruction of the Talvith clan. Ethan stepped forward, raising the sword. Lena was beside him, spear ready. The villagers and warriors lined the walls, their eyes fixed on the approaching enemy. Ethan felt the weight of responsibility settle on him. This was more than survival. This was the defense of a people who had trusted him, a child who depended on him, and a law that had bound him to this world. The battle began. Ethan moved swiftly, striking the first wave of attackers. His sword met theirs with a sharp clash. He blocked, parried, and struck with precision. Lena moved beside him, her spear spinning and striking with deadly accuracy. The villagers followed, their fear replaced by courage inspired by the human and the clan warrior. Ethan noticed the enemy leader in the center, directing his warriors. He was larger than before, more confident. His sword moved with power, cutting through shields and armor. Ethan knew he had to reach him, not just for victory but to protect Lena and Kira. He fought his way through the enemy ranks. Every strike counted. Every movement saved a life. He saw a young warrior about to be struck. Ethan jumped, blocking the attack and throwing the enemy backward. He did not stop. He moved as a shield for the villagers, a sword for the weak, and a storm for the enemy. Lena fought beside him, covering his back. They moved in sync, anticipating each other's actions. The bond formed by law and strengthened by choice gave them a rhythm that was unmatched. The enemy was surprised. A human fighting with a clan warrior was not something they had expected. Their formation faltered. The battle raged on. Ethan used his knowledge of traps and terrain. He guided enemies into narrow paths where their numbers became a disadvantage. He led them into pits and obstacles that slowed their advance. His human ingenuity combined with alien training gave the Talvith clan a clear advantage. Hours passed. The sun moved across the sky, casting long shadows. Sweat, blood, and dust covered Ethan and the warriors. But they did not stop. The enemy was strong, but the Talvith clan was stronger. They fought not just for survival, but for honor, for family, and for life itself. The enemy leader roared and charged at Ethan. The human stood his ground, sword ready. The leader swung with all his strength. Ethan blocked, feeling the power in the strike. He pushed back, using his speed and balance to counterattack. The leader stumbled, surprised by the human skill and determination. Lena moved to strike another enemy, giving Ethan a clear path. He advanced, striking with precision. The enemy leader fought fiercely, but Ethan's courage and technique were unmatched. One final blow, guided by instinct and training, sent the leader crashing into the ground. The enemy saw their leader fall. Confusion spread. Their morale broke. The remaining warriors retreated. Ethan lowered his sword, breathing heavily. Lena approached, her spear dripping with sweat and blood. The villagers cheered. Kira ran to Ethan, hugging his leg. "Safe now," he said, smiling down at her. She nodded, eyes shining with trust and gratitude. The elders came forward, their faces solemn but approving. One elder placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. He spoke in the alien language, but the tone was clear. Respect, honor, recognition. Ethan did not need to understand every word. He had proven himself. Not just as a fighter, but as a protector, a leader and a human among aliens. That night the settlement celebrated. Fires burned brightly, and the villagers danced, sang, and shared food. Ethan sat quietly with Lena and Kira. Lena's eyes softened as she looked at him. "Strong human heart bond true," she said. Ethan smiled faintly. "I only did what I had to protect." The sword lay beside him, still glowing faintly. It was more than a weapon now. It was a symbol of trust, courage, and unity. Ethan realized that humanity's strength was not just in technology or numbers. It was in heart, courage, and the will to protect those who could not protect themselves. Days passed. The settlement rebuilt, trained, and prepared for any future attacks. Ethan continued to teach the villagers and warriors, sharing strategies, training techniques, and courage. The bond between him, Lena, and Kira grew stronger. It was no longer just law that connected them, but trust, respect, and shared purpose. Ethan looked at the twin suns setting behind the mountains. He knew the enemy would return someday, perhaps stronger and more organized. But he was ready. He had learned the ways of the clan, mastered the sword, and earned the respect of the people. He was no longer just a human outsider. He was a protector, a warrior, and a part of something greater. As he watched the stars appear in the alien sky, Ethan smiled faintly. The journey was far from over. Battles would come. Challenges would rise, but he was ready. Humanity had proven its place on this world, not through machines or numbers, but through courage, loyalty, and the will to protect. And Ethan Cole, the human chosen by law, by courage, and by fate, would stand ready to defend the Talvith clan and the life of the child he had sworn to protect, no matter the cost. The sun rose slowly over the valley, painting the sky in orange and pink. The Talvith settlement was calm. After the great battle, the villagers rebuilt their homes, repaired walls, and tended to the wounded. The air smelled of smoke, flowers, and fresh soil. Ethan Cole walked through the settlement, holding the curved clan sword. The metal felt familiar now, almost like it had become part of him. Kira ran to him, holding a small bundle of flowers. "For you," she said shyly. Ethan smiled and took them. "Thank you, little one," he said. She hugged his leg and ran off to play with other children. Ethan watched her, realizing how much had changed since he first arrived. The child he had saved had become a symbol of hope, and he had become a protector not only by law but by choice. Lena approached him, carrying her spear. She moved with grace, but her eyes were serious. "Ethan," she said quietly. "Elders call now." Ethan nodded. He had learned that when Lena spoke with this tone, it was important. Together they walked to the central hall. Inside, the elders waited. Their faces were calm, but their eyes were sharp, filled with the weight of centuries. Ethan knew this meeting was not casual. The previous battle had proven his strength and courage, but the elders had something else to decide. Lena stepped forward and spoke. "Human bond must honor protector law." Ethan nodded slowly. He understood now. The bond was not just about fighting. It was about trust, loyalty, and life itself. One elder stepped forward, holding his long staff. He gestured toward Ethan and then toward Lena. Ethan felt a strange pressure, a mix of awe and responsibility. The elder spoke in a deep voice. The words were alien, but Ethan could feel the meaning. Recognition, respect, approval. The bond had been tested by action, and now it was complete. Lena turned to Ethan. Her expression softened. "Law bond a protector, now life share together," she said. Ethan's heart pounded. He had expected this moment, but hearing it spoken aloud made it real. He looked at Lena, then at Kira, then back at the elders. He realized that the bond was no longer just law. It was purpose, honor, and trust. Ethan knelt slightly as a gesture of respect. "I accept," he said slowly. "Not because I must, but because I choose to protect. Always. Lena, Kira, all of you." The elders nodded, satisfied. Lena stepped closer and touched his arm lightly. It was not a touch of command, but of respect and understanding. Ethan felt a warmth he had never known. After the ceremony, the settlement celebrated. Fires burned brightly and the villagers danced, sang, and shared food. Ethan joined them, sword at his side, ready if danger returned. But for now there was peace. He felt the trust of the people, the bond with Lena, and the responsibility he had chosen to carry. Days passed. Ethan trained with Lena and the warriors, but now the training was lighter, more focused on skill than survival. He taught them some human tactics, and they taught him more about the alien ways of combat and protection. The bond with Lena grew stronger. They moved in sync, anticipating each other's actions, protecting Kira and guiding the villagers. One evening, Lena brought Ethan to a small hill overlooking the valley. The twin suns were setting, casting a golden glow. "You human changed heart, mind, strong protector," she said quietly. Ethan smiled faintly. "I only do what is right, for you, for Kira, for everyone." Lena nodded. Not only law, bond, choice, respect, life together. Ethan understood fully. The bond had started with law, but it had grown into trust, understanding, and even affection. Kira ran up the hill, laughing, and Ethan lifted her onto his shoulders. She giggled and pointed at the distant mountains. "Adventure?" she asked. Ethan laughed. "Yes, little one. Adventure." He realized that protecting her was more than defending a child. It was giving her hope, a future, and a safe world to grow up in. That night the elders visited Ethan in his room. They spoke slowly, pointing at the sword, then at him, then at the settlement. Ethan listened carefully. He understood their meaning. They were recognizing his courage, his loyalty, and his human ingenuity. He had become more than a protector. He had become a bridge between worlds, a human respected by an alien clan. The following weeks passed peacefully. Ethan and Lena continued to train, teach, and lead. The villagers respected them both, but they also admired Ethan's courage and human intuition. He had shown that even a human could rise to meet the challenges of an alien world, not by strength alone, but by heart and determination. One morning, while training, Lena stopped and looked at him. "You, human, understand now?" she asked. Ethan nodded. "I understand. Strength is not just in the sword or body. It's in courage, loyalty, and protecting life. That is what makes a true warrior." Lena's eyes softened. "Yes, protector, husband, choice, honor." Ethan smiled faintly. The words no longer felt heavy. They felt right. Kira ran to them carrying a small wooden toy sword. "Fight!" she shouted. Ethan and Lena laughed. They played with the child, swinging wooden swords and practicing movements. It was not training. It was life, joy, and peace after the storms of battle. Ethan realized that protecting a people meant more than fighting. It meant giving them hope and safety. The next day, scouts reported movement in the distance. The rival clan had not given up. They were smaller this time, fewer in number but determined. Ethan and Lena prepared the warriors. This time, Ethan was confident. He knew the terrain, the people, and the enemy's tactics. He had trained the villagers. He had fought with them. He had earned their trust. The battle began at dawn. Ethan moved with precision, striking first, blocking and guiding the villagers. Lena moved beside him, covering his back, anticipating attacks. Kira watched from a safe distance, her small hands clenched in worry. Ethan fought not just with sword, but with strategy. He led enemies into traps, ambushes, and tight spaces. Their numbers became a disadvantage. The enemy leader charged, but Ethan was ready. He met the attack with a strong block, then countered, pushing the enemy backward. Lena joined the attack, striking with precision. Together they moved as one, human and alien, protector and warrior, bonded by law and choice. The rival clan faltered, morale breaking under the combined strength and strategy of Ethan, Lena, and the villagers. By midday, the enemy was defeated. They retreated across the valley, leaving their wounded behind. The settlement cheered. Ethan lowered his sword, exhausted but alive. Kira ran to him, hugging his leg. Lena stepped forward, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Human, protector, hero," she said. Ethan smiled faintly. I only did what was needed, for life, for hope." The elders approached and spoke in their language. Ethan listened carefully, understanding the meaning without knowing the exact words. Respect, honor, recognition. He had proven himself not just in battle but in heart and spirit. Humanity had earned its place on this alien world, not through machines or weapons, but through courage, loyalty, and the will to protect life. That night, Ethan sat outside with Lena and Kira. The twin suns had set and stars filled the sky. Kira slept beside them. Ethan looked at Lena. "I understand now," he said quietly. "The bond was not just law, it was choice, trust, and life. I will protect you, Kira, and the clan always." Lena nodded, smiling faintly. "Yes, protector, husband, choice, heart, honor." Ethan placed the sword beside him. It no longer felt heavy. It was a symbol of responsibility, courage, and unity. He had started as a human outsider, lost and alone, and had become a warrior, protector, and leader. Humanity had proven its strength, not in machines or numbers, but in heart, courage, and the will to defend life. The following days were peaceful. Ethan continued to train with Lena, teach the villagers, and protect the settlement. The bond between him and Lena grew stronger, built on mutual respect, understanding, and shared experiences. They were partners, not just by law but by choice. Kira thrived, playing and learning under their care. Ethan knew that danger could return at any moment, but he no longer feared it. He had the sword, the training, and the trust of the people. He had Lena at his side, and the bond with her gave him strength. Humanity had found a place on this world, and Ethan had found his purpose. As the twin suns rose one morning, Ethan stood at the edge of the settlement, sword in hand. He looked at the valley, the mountains, and the sky. He thought of the battles, the victories, and the lessons learned. He felt pride, hope, and determination. Humanity's courage had changed the fate of an alien clan. A single human had made a difference. And Ethan Cole, protector of life, warrior of honor and bound by law and choice to Lena and Kira, knew that whatever came next, he would face it with courage, loyalty, and heart. He had become more than human. He had become a symbol of hope, strength, and honor. The settlement was safe, the rival clans defeated, and the bond complete. Humanity had proven its place in the galaxy, not through fear or domination, but through courage, protection, and the will to defend those who could not defend themselves. Ethan smiled. The journey was far from over, but he was ready. And with Lena and Kira beside him, he knew that whatever the stars held, humanity would rise, fight, and protect.